Hello guys, kind of doing something different here. I'm on my Minecraft server, as you can see. Um, I have basically plans I want to do on here, but I've done a lot of off-screen that you haven't seen. I have gone mining quite a bit. I have 64 obsidian, as you can see. Got some more coal, iron. I found a dungeon, so I have a golden record and a green record. I think I found that in a chest in the dungeon. I also found a name tag, saddle, horse armor. I forget what I've all got, but I have done some stuff out here. I replaced these. I made these 3 wide, going up to Brandon's tree farm or whatever. I guess I should explain what's going on with the server. This series is basically dead, and no one wants to play on the server. So, and I had some inspiration, so basically I'm just making this my own kind of personal world now. Of course, I'll still leave like Andrew's house and Brendan's house, Tyler's house, and the lava cube or whatever. I did most of this during the time lapse where I changed this out with gravel. If you're wondering what these place markers are, it's where Brendan's farms were. That way, if we ever play again, he won't get mad. I added some signs. I actually dyed these sheep cyan, and you'll see why in a minute. It says if you kill any animals, please leave at least 2 alive to breed. And made this in the time lapse as well. I made this bridge off screen. It's a bridge that goes over to this land. Basically, what I want to do for spawn is basically make it a place for people to set up if they die or if they spawn here. This I'm gonna work on. So thing with Tyler's farm is it's one thing I want to change for sure. I just want to make it all crops. I'm gonna get rid of the trees and we'll build the tree farm up where Brendan has his. But I want to make these all crops like wheat, carrots, potatoes, beetroot, whatever. I want to make this town basically farms and place this setup. And I'm gonna move the chicken farm over here. And of course we got the mob farm in there. While I found the dungeon, I found this skeleton spawner and I marked where it was. And it's over the hill over there somewhere. So, oh, I need food. Hold on. Bread will work. But, yeah, the skeleton spawner is somewhere over the hill this way. It's probably like 100 coordinates out that way. 100 blocks out. Brendan's llama got trapped in this boat, so that's the thing. Anyway, I just want to work on this. I actually checked with Tyler. He's like, I don't care what happens to my farm. So that's what we're gonna do. Added these signs. I said this is town square. For more info, books and chests below. Books are down here. Information here, and that's why I have this book. I haven't really planned out what I'm gonna say yet, but I have it like in my head. And I'm only gonna allow people to build one house in this area, and then somewhere else in the world we'll probably build like our own village where we can have as many houses as we want. This is kind of just a spawn for people to set up, I guess you could say, or is what my idea of it is. But yeah, I guess let's take down Tyler's trees first. Oh, by the way, I enchanted a diamond pickaxe, and I got 54 breaking 3. So it's a good work pickaxe, I guess you could say. And I also had a sign there. Let's just chop down these trees because it's not where the tree farm is going to be. Okay. So, I guess I could tell you a story about how this server all got started and everything. It's kind of like an interesting story of how this server came to be. So, in middle school, in 7th grade, I've been friends with Brendan since kindergarten. And me and Brendan kind of came up with the idea for this server. In middle school, and 7th grade, me and Brendan went to the same middle school, and then for the second half of the year, he got homeschooled because his grades were not good. So he decided to get homeschooled, and that's kind of like the only kind of friend at the time I had. This is before I even met Tyler, or who I knew who he was, or Andrew for that matter. And after he got homeschooled, I kind of got into Minecraft, basically, you know, and started playing single player or whatever. I started looking up Minecraft videos, Minecraft playthrough, and I came across, I was actually looking at super hostile maps, people playing them, and I came across, what the fuck? I'm pretty sure my cat just, I don't fucking know. Anyway, I was looking at people playing super hostile maps. If you don't know what super hostile is, maps made by Vex. Look it up. And the super hostile map that I was very familiar with was CFM, and I wanted to see how other people did it. And I came across these two guys. One was called Good, and one was called BWO. And I thought they were just fucking funny as hell, as ever. And then I realized Good actually had a server called the Mindcrack server, and this is how I kind of got into Mindcrack, and I enjoyed the videos and everything, and you know, became familiar with all the guys, and so I started playing Minecraft, and I was like, that's what I want to do. I want to start a multiplayer server. So then 8th grade comes around, and the first few days I was, you know, by myself or whatever. And then all of a sudden Brendan comes back, and, you know, so he's back in school again, and I didn't tell him about Minecraft or whatever. And then a few days, you know, after he came back, I asked him, I was like, do you know about Minecraft? And he's like, yeah. And I was like, do you know about people called Mindcrack or whatever? He's like, yeah, and vintage beef and stuff like that. And I was like, well, I was thinking of starting a multiplayer server. And he was like, oh, really? And I was like, you know, I want to be a part of that or whatever. So I was like, yeah, I'm just trying to figure out how to set up. I knew nothing about doing anything back then about server-wise or whatever. And I was throwing horribly at it. Here, let me sleep. And, you know, we started talking about Minecraft servers. So originally I was going to set up Minecraft server, get spawn ready, you know, have a little spawn house or whatever. And I started doing that. And then halfway through the year, Brendan asked me, hey, would you mind adding my friend Andrew? And I didn't even know Andrew. Andrew was always a grade ahead of us. And I was like, you know what, we always can need more people. Sure, I'll add him. So I added him, and I had him on the list. So continuing to work on the server. In the middle of 8th grade, I think it was. No, it was no. I'm getting this wrong. Me and Brendan talked about setting up a Minecraft server in 7th grade. I think. Something like that. I don't know. Anyway, 8th grade, I met Tyler. Now, I kind of just met him because we were in the same jazz band. I didn't really know him. But one day after jazz band, I guess he stayed behind and he wanted to talk to us. Or he wanted to talk to someone, and I was there too, and kind of became friends, and he knew Brendan, and we were all in gym. We all had gym together. Remember that? So we became friends, and then we had this thing called Incentive Day, where it was like at the end of the semester where we could, go outside and just basically do whatever, play on the field and stuff. And so during that day, me and Tyler and Brendan were all hanging out by the stairs, sitting by the stairs. I remember this vividly. It was very sunny out. It was hot too. And me and Brendan were talking about the Minecraft server, and Tyler was like, "Wait, you guys have a Minecraft server?" I'm like, "I'm setting up one, or whatever." And Tyler was like, "Well, I could be a part of it." I was like, "Yeah, okay, yeah, sure." So that's how Tyler kind of got involved with it. Then, as I continue to work on the server, I goes into high school. And what was happening at that time is I still couldn't figure out how to get the server to fucking work. And I took computer science with Tyler, freshman year. And the main problem I had with getting a server to work or whatever was always port forwarding, and I could never figure out how to port forward, and I kind of just gave up after some time. So as I was keep creating the server, me and Tyler got in computer science, and I learned how to design websites, I guess. Let's see, what do we need? I think I want to use these. I want to keep that tree because it looks like a fucking tree with a top hat. I kind of like it. It's kind of cool. But, learn how to design websites. And I had a test server just to make sure I could test port forwarding. And I really didn't spend that much time in Minecraft freshman year. And at this time, Tyler didn't have a computer to play on at home, and I'll get to why that's kind of important here. I need a shovel. So, 9th grade goes by, and 10th grade comes, and Andrew was in my computer science class, and in 10th grade, we took AP Computer Science, me, Tyler, and Andrew. So, he was in my AP Computer Science class as well. Actually, I'm going to make another diamond shovel. So, that time, I mean, he ended up dropping out AP Computer Science, but that time, I think I finally figured out how to port forward. So, I got in a Skype call with Brendan one day, which we don't use Skype anymore, because Skype is a piece of shit. We got into a Skype call one day, and I was like, I think I finally figured out, could you test it? And he started testing it, he's like, it's not working. I was like, well, let me try something else. So I tried something else, and then, okay, try it now, and he was like, holy shit. And he was just on the server, and I was like, fuck yes, I finally figured out how to fucking do this. And then he's like, okay, let me get Andrew in here. And we kind of just played on that server for a while. And I was like, okay, I gotta go, you know, shut down the server or whatever. And the server was pretty laggy at first, and I figured out how to put more RAM into it. And so next day goes by, and Tyler, or no, not Tyler, Andrew comes up to me during AP Computer Science, and he says, you know, could we do that again? I was like, you know what, because I told them this plan that I want to start a Minecraft series on YouTube and start recording, and then so we talked about it, and you know, I was like, you know what, we could just start the series or whatever. You know, and he was like, okay, yeah, we could do that. So went home that day, start up another season. I worked with commands before, and I set up commands, and at this time they didn't have a world border. No, I did this fucking wrong. So we tried it. I added more RAM, and it still didn't fucking work. It was still laggy as shit. So I was like, well, what the fuck is going on here? And I couldn't really figure it out. So a couple months go by, and I find this site which I still use to this day. That's what the server is running on right now. I find this site that would let you host your Minecraft server, and originally I want this server to be 24/7 to host it myself, and I was just like, that's probably never gonna happen. So, you know, I found this site, I created a world, found it to be pretty good, and I got Brendan in a call, and I was like, you know what, we should see if this works and see if the lag works. So we played for a while, seeing the work, and I was like, what if we put on amplified terrain? And this is kind of where it got into season 1. So put on, and Brendan's like, I don't know if that'll work. So I put on amplified terrain, and me and Brendan played for a while, and it seemed like amplified terrain worked pretty well. So me and Brendan were like, well, let's I guess since this works, let's start recording season 1. So, and by this time the world border patches came out or whatever. So next day, set up a server. I worked with command blocks and the bedrock blocks or whatever. And we found out there's a village nearby. So we decided to stick with that seed, and you know, did everything. We messed around with a lot of commands on that server, which you guys will probably never know the story, because those days are gone. Anyway, so we messed with it, and like, okay, it's good. Well, we start recording next day. Next day, we get Andrew on, and we just start recording. At this time, Tyler, I probably said this, Tyler didn't have his own computer or what to play on, so we basically did all of season 1 without Tyler. And that's basically how this series was born. Wait, I need smooth stone. Here we go. It's basically how this series was born, I guess you could say. It's just but you know, and it evolved into something that I didn't think we would have multiple seasons for. I think it was just gonna be one season, and season 1 seemed to be pretty good. Like, we didn't get burned out because we just waited so long to have a Minecraft server basically to ourselves. And yeah, so you know, we were excited or whatever to finally have a Minecraft server to ourselves. And then kind of got bored of the amplified terrain. That's why we kind of had Season 2. And we thought since it was on normal terrain, it was going to last a lot longer. It didn't. And then Season 3 kind of started, like, we planned when we were going to start Season 1, Season 2, right? You know. And what ended up happening for Season 3 is, I asked Tyler, you know, could I come over or whatever, and I was going to spend some time at Tyler's house. Spend some time at Tyler's house, and basically what he said when I got there, he's like, hey, Cameron convinced Brendan and Andrew to play Minecraft again for Season 3. And I was like, oh. So we got Brendan and Andrew in Discord, and we told them to wait, and then I was like, we're probably going to be up all night recording this, so we should get some monsters. So we got Andrew and Brennan in Discord, and they kind of just sat there while I drove Tyler to the corner store to get monsters. And then I drove Tyler back home, and then I rushed home and basically set up a server within like 10 minutes. With the deaths, I mean, you'll see in this series that I actually had the health while we were recording. And the colored name tags, you know, I did all that. And set up the command blocks or whatever. And basically it all happened within 5 minutes. I was like, you know what? I'm kind of like ready to record, so that happened. So, yeah. The funny thing is in Season 2, we always recorded on a half day. This is because we were still in high school. And each season there was like a year in between each season. And there was like we record on half days because that way Tyler could come home and we could because he didn't have his computer at the time. The only time he had was on his computer is the third session of Season 2. That was the only time. And you could tell that Andrew and Tyler were getting burnt out because Tyler was playing Pokemon on the third session. So, yeah. Is there a hole in here? I'm gonna make a diamond hoe. Yeah, and basically, Tyler basically said today that he's kind of burnt out on Minecraft. So, if this ever decides to come back, I have a plan. I have a plan on how I'm gonna do this. If they want a new server, I'm tired of setting up new servers and having different season names. So, if they want a new server, I'm just gonna teleport us to a random fucking place in the world and have it that way. So, yeah. But this will always be the original spawn. That's kind of want to set it up. So, got kind of the tree farm set up over there. I mean, this server, I thought it was going to be bigger and better or whatever, but with how YouTube's going and everything, it's just not going to be how I wanted it. Man, if I still had some of the old worlds of some of the servers I tried setting up, I had so many different servers. I had fucking like 15. But, you know, whatever. Okay, I need to follow the pattern. So he had 4. So he had a line of water right here.